This is the news for South Mississippi. WLOX News Now at midday.
Happening now, icy conditions crippling the coast. Bridges from Pascagoula to the Bay closed to traffic. The routes you can still take to get around. Plus, grounded in Gulfport, frozen runways causing flight delays. We're live from the airport with travel updates. And Ingalls shipyard employees infuriated after a communication problem leaves them stranded at work and not on the clock. It has been a blistery, cold morning across the coast, and this Arctic blast hits us with bone-chilling conditions, and it's not going to get much warmer today. Let's turn to meteorologist Andrew Wilson for the latest.
Yeah, Rhonda, it is really cold out there. Temperatures still below freezing across the area. Check it out. We have temperatures in the 20s. But we have some video here that's going to show you something pretty interesting. Now that the sun has risen, the ice is melting in some spots. Check it out. Here's video of some cars right here in the WLOX parking lot, I believe. You see that the ice was melting a little bit. As that sun comes up, it's going to kind of help melt the ice just a bit, even though those temperatures are below freezing. But here's the problem. You still see that ice out there. The water is going to be on the road, and then it's going to refreeze tonight. So even though we do have some ice melting, it's just going to refreeze once it gets back onto the road. The good news is we're not going to have as much ice on the road tomorrow morning as what we had this morning, but you still got to look out for those icy patches because once again, temperatures won't warm up much more than what we're at right now today. We're only going to see them rise to the lower to mid 30s. Now, it feels like with the wind chill, check it out. Feels like 9 in Wiggins. We're past 11 o'clock. It still feels like that. Check out Bay St. Louis. Feels like 8 degrees. Everybody else, not too much better. Gaucher feels the warmest out there, but still 20 degrees, not too nice. Satellite and radar shows the snow now well off to our east. We're going to be left with drier conditions today. A lot of sunshine, but once again, we stay cold. Moving into tonight, temperatures will eventually fall back down to the teens. When will we warm up? We'll talk about it coming up.
We talked about all that ice on the roads. Now to an update on bridge closures. We just checked with police dispatchers. Here's the latest list of closures. The Bay Bridge and the Biloxi Ocean Springs Bridge both remain closed. That's where Doug Walker joins us live from the Biloxi Bay Bridge now with a look at the road conditions there.
Well, I'll tell you, the road conditions aren't good. I'm at the base of the Biloxi Ocean Springs Bridge on the Ocean Springs side, and as you can see behind me, the bridge is closed, still closed. Actually, it's so windy out here, you can see a couple of the barricades. They just blew over just moments ago, and that's one of the problems that we're facing with. We've got the cold wind blowing and the watery roads leading to ice. Now, the commute in Jackson County today, dicey at the very least. In other words, basically the entire county was shut down for one portion of the morning. The reason why, the Highway 1613 bridge was closed. The Highway 63 bridge was closed. The high-rise, Highway 90 high-rise in Pascagoula closed. The West River Bridge in Gaucher on Highway 90 was closed. So let's say you lived in Pascagoula or you lived in Moss Point and you wanted to get up north to I-10, you had to drive all the way to the state line, to the Franklin Creek exit to do so. But things have eased off somewhat in the last few hours. The temperatures have warmed up slightly and some of the ice on the bridges has started to melt. Highway 63 open, Highway 613 open. However, traverse it very carefully. There's still some icy conditions. Meanwhile, the Fort Bayou Bridge in Ocean Springs opened up about 25 minutes ago for north and southbound traffic. Now, what's happening here on the Biloxi Ocean Springs Bridge? Well, MDOT is up there inspecting it right now as we speak. They're going to be putting salt down on this bridge and then also treating it, and they hope to have it open probably within an hour or so. At least that's the hope, but there's no guarantee. Meanwhile, if you have to get out and about today, be very careful. Take it slow. Leave a lot of space between you and the car in front of you because the icy conditions still exist through much of the day because the temperatures simply not going to rise that much. There could be ice on the bridges and overpasses all day long, so please take it easy. That's the situation in Jackson County. Doug Walker reporting live, WLOX News Now.
All righty, thank you, Doug. And drivers also having problems this morning on I-110 at this time. And police tell us the I-110 ramp from Highway 90 is closed right now. A lot of slipping and sliding up on the I-110, and that's why. Meanwhile, accidents happening all across South Mississippi. Officers telling us that some drivers skid right off the interstate, some even flipping their vehicles. Mike Lacey joins us live on Highway 49 with a traffic update.
That's right, Rhonda. Highway 4, dangerous indeed. Highway 49 here, just coming off the interstate. I noticed a multi-car accident. Looked like it was pretty minor, but that's just a little bit. That's just the tip of the iceberg, so to speak. I went from I-10 from the Wool Market exit just to Cow and Lorraine. I counted 4 accidents. They were all minor. They were all single car accidents, but they were all on the bridges. The bridges on I-10 are open, but they are very, very slick and very dangerous, and backed up traffic for a long way. Police very, very busy this morning. I spoke with Rupert Lacey. He said that road crews were out at midnight salting the dangerous patches of ice on the highways and on the bridges. He said the wind was whipping around so bad it was blowing the barricades away, so they had to use sandbags to do that. He said between 6 a.m. and 8 a.m., everything seemed to be pretty good. But when the sun started to come up and people started to think, well, you know, maybe the road is a little safe here, obviously still below freezing, but that's the exact opposite. The roads were actually as dangerous as they had been because it was, as we've mentioned, still below freezing. So a lot of these accidents were happening as the sun came up, and it belied the dangers of the road. We'll have more later on WLOX News and WLOX.com. Reporting live in Gulfport, Mike Lacey, WLOX News Now.
Jackson County also still dealing with bridge problems right now. This is a live look at the Pascagoula high rise. Looks like part of it may have reopened, but still looks like there is some ice on the bridge. It's been closed since about 5:30 this morning because of the icy conditions, and it was a dicey commute this morning along the bridge. I can see some cars in the background. And happening now, Ingalls Shipyard canceling all remaining shifts for today. This after hundreds of shipyard workers showed for the first shift before being told shortly before their work shift that the shift was suspended and to go home. Now take a look. This video shows the traffic problems near the Pascagoula high rise as the shipyard and the bridges closed and the workers tried to leave, but not all of them could leave. Dozens of employees ended up stuck at Ingalls because the bridges surrounding the shipyard were closed. And many employees reached out to us frustrated.
It was kind of terrifying, to be honest with you. When we finally got the order to leave work, the exit was chaos pretty much. Trying to get up the Jerry St. Pay Bridge, there was people spinning their tires, smoking because they couldn't get up the hill. There was it was terrifying. Ingalls does lots of things that I absolutely agree with. You know, we build ships for the Navy. I love this work, but this was just a bad decision. I just don't know how the Ingalls hotline wasn't updated until 5:50 this morning, with thousands of people trying to go to work.
Ingalls officials say they will make an announcement later today regarding tomorrow's work schedule. Well, turning now to the snowy situation in Stone County, things beginning to thaw out on the roads a bit. Desiree Duncan continues our team coverage.
Well, hey, good morning. It is a winter wonderland out here in Stone County. They have some snow here on the ground. You can see it over here to my left. And it's a pretty sight, but it's creating some dangerous situations on the road. And that has kept emergency officials very, very busy this morning. Dispatch tells me that crews have responded to 18 accidents so far this morning. Unfortunately, no serious injuries have been reported, but at least 2 of those did have injuries. Now, the icy conditions are also giving tow truck companies some good business. Operators tell me they have been busy this morning responding to different accidents, trying to clear those accidents. One vehicle that we went to, it slid off the road and flipped over to the ditch. That's just a show of just how dangerous these conditions are. And even for the tow truck drivers, it's dangerous because there's not a lot of traction for them to be able to pull those vehicles out of the road and out of the median. Now, officials are reminding drivers to take it slow. We've been watching cars come by here on 49 and watching some of them go by. Some of them may be going a little bit too fast for the conditions because even though it is starting to thaw out, even though some of this is starting to melt, especially on those heavily traveled roads, it is very slick, still very slick out here, and still important to take it slow. And of course, all of this expected to refreeze again, creating even more dangerous situations in the morning. Live in Stone County, Desiree Duncan, WLOX News Now.
Now, this cold snap not only causing delays on the ground, but in the air too. Several flights canceled now through Gulfport Biloxi International. Carrie Grace joins us live from the airport with the latest.
Yeah, so the icy conditions affecting air travel as well. Arrivals and departures, many of them canceled or delayed today. Now, we are told that there's ice on the runways, obviously a big issue for any planes wanting to land here or take off. We actually talked with a few passengers that are here saying they've been stuck since noon yesterday. We know that United canceled all of their flights yesterday around noon, so that is why some people were stuck here overnight. Now, we do looking around, there aren't that many people here, so obviously people were able to either get home or find somewhere to go while they're waiting to see what's going to happen with their flights. But if we take a look at the board, we see that there are several arrivals canceled and delayed. And then as far as departures are concerned, we see that both American Airlines departures for today have been canceled. Again, as far as the ice is concerned, as Andrew said, the sun will melt some of that ice, but then there's that potential for it to refreeze. So we're not really sure what's going to happen here at the airport for the rest of the day. Of course, people very eager and anxious to get to where they're going, and obviously people stuck in other places who are trying to arrive here in Gulfport having the same issue, because we know this winter weather is affecting much of the southeast. But of course, we'll keep you updated on how things are going here at the airport. For now, reporting live from Gulfport, Carrie Grace, WLOX News Now.
Thanks, Carrie. And developing now, two coast power companies waiting to get the all clear. This morning, Coastal Electric and Singing River Electric issued a plea asking all customers to reduce their electric use to prevent outages. In an effort to prevent power outages, Coastal Electric and Singing River Electric asking you to conserve power. Their systems are overloaded. Turn your thermostat to 68 or lower and turn off all non-essential lighting, appliances, and electronics. But they do expect that critical shortage of electricity plea to be lifted here sometime soon, so you should be able to use all of the electricity that you need. With all-time low temperatures hitting South Mississippi, the risk of hypothermia is real. What you need to know to protect yourself, coming up next on Midday.
Now, WLOX First Alert Weather with meteorologist Andrew Wilson.
Well, it was frigid this morning. Those temperatures were in the teens across the area, and it feels like conditions with those wind chills all the way down in the single digits. For today, the winds stay pretty strong here. They will calm down a little bit throughout the day. That's the good news, but still going to be pretty gusty. North winds from 10 to 15 miles per hour have been really a big issue, on top of the fact that we have the ice out there, just because they're making it feel so much colder than what it actually is. And you saw those temperatures. We're only rising up to the low to mid 30s today, dropping down to the teens again tonight. Now, temperatures currently once again sitting in the 20s, low 20s to mid 20s out there, but it feels more like the teens to low 20s as well. You see that it is just very frigid out there all across our live neighborhood network locations and all across the South Mississippi region. Check out the radar though, not dealing with any snow anymore. All that snow now well off to our east. You see it over towards the Florida Panhandle. Really just plain old rain over towards Tallahassee, but moving on off to the north into portions of East Georgia and parts of central South Carolina, they are dealing with some of that snow right now. Here in South Mississippi, there's the temperatures, 20s across the area, and it's 11:15 a.m. That is some frigid conditions. And y'all, once again, we're not warming up much more today. Who else is dealing with the cold? Well, everybody around us. Check it out. Everybody in the 20s and teens, how far do you got to go to get some warmer conditions? Well, Miami's at 73. Maybe you can warm up down there towards Miami, but everybody else you see in the United States has been really dealing with some cold conditions, of course, except for over there in Southern California. Now, the wind, once again, has been a bit of an issue. You see that the tide is way out from it from the Hancock Bay and Tower Came in Gulfport. The good news is we already hit low tide, so tides will be going up a bit throughout the day. You see that you can see a lot of that beachfront there from the Margaritaville Resort, Tower Came in Biloxi. Seeing possibly a little bit of ice under the I-110 bridge there from the IP Casino Resort and Spa Tower Came in Biloxi. You see that there's some ice on the bridge too. People are driving carefully. Keep it slow out there. And you see a lot of shakes of the camera from the wind. Check out here from the Mississippi Power Tower came inside the Beau Rivage. The Biloxi Lighthouse Pier. You could walk all the way out there and walk under the very end of the pier with how far the tide's out right now. That's pretty wild to be seeing that. The hard freeze warning is still in place for tonight. Remember, we are going to have those temperatures fall down to the teens, and with that, That's a pipe bursting freeze. You got to drip those faucets tonight, especially tonight with how cold it's going to be. It may not take too long at all for those pipes to freeze. You want to make sure you use precaution so you don't end up with a big bill from having to fix pipes. Now, the wind chills, that's going to be another big issue for tonight. Now, it feels like it's going to be in the 20s by about 2 p.m. today, even though those temperatures do rise into the 30s. Once again, the wind going to be keeping up just a bit, but not as bad as last night. We head into tonight, tomorrow morning, 6:30 a.m. Futurecast trying to say that the wind chills are going to be more into the teens. I think we're going to see some spots in the single digits again in the morning, so keep that in mind. Very, very cold. Futurecast does show temperatures will rise into the 40s, and then the feels like conditions will be in the 40s as well as we head into Thursday afternoon, but it will still feel cold as we head into Thursday night, Friday morning. Here's the good news. We do have a big warm-up on the way. We do have a cold alert, though, first, all the way through Thursday morning. Temperatures below freezing tonight. There's going to be ice on the roads in the morning. Drive carefully. Drive carefully tonight as well because the ice will still be there in spots especially that are in the shade. We make our way into Thursday. I think that's when we're going to start to see all the ice clear out by the time we get into Thursday afternoon, that is. And then you see the big warm-up. 70 degrees by Sunday. That's going to be beautiful.
And we mentioned some of the other counties. Hancock County EMA Director Brian Adam and his team have been out checking the roads and the bridges all morning. This is a picture of the Catahoula Creek Bridge on Cesar Niquez Road earlier this morning. A lot of snow there. Adam tells us he's starting to see a little bit of thawing, but all bridges in North Hancock County have ice on them. He says they're passable, but slick. Adam says Highway 603 still has a lot of bad spots, and right now the bridges in the south part of the county seem to be the worst. Protecting yourself from the cold is critical. While outdoors, you know you run the risk of hypothermia. That's when your entire body temperature drops from 98 degrees. At highest risk, the elderly, infants, and children. The first symptoms are shivering. Then exhaustion can set in, eventually affecting your brain.
And try to limit any exposed skin. So we want to dress in layers, wear gloves, wear a scarf, wear a hat, waterproof clothing. If your clothing gets wet, take it off immediately, get to a warm place, because the water conducts the cold a lot faster than air does. So if you have wet clothing, you can get really cold really fast and it can get really dangerous.
And Dr. Crane says hypothermia can take hours to set in, or if the temperatures are extremely cold, it can only take minutes. Of course, the flu is running rampant across the country right now, and it's proving to be deadly, taking the lives of children. The latest on the outbreak coming up next on Midday. A 10-year-old boy and a 40-year-old mom are the latest deaths related to flu in the U.S. The CDC says widespread flu activity is now reported in every state except Hawaii. ABC's Maggie Rulli has more.
10-year-old Nico Malozzi, one of the latest children to fall victim to this year's flu.
Nico was a very lively, vibrant, spirited kid.
Nico and his family were on their way to his hockey tournament in Buffalo, but rushed to the hospital when he started coming down with flu-like symptoms. He was sent home to rest, but they never made it back to Connecticut. Officials believe he died from the flu and sepsis.
Right now, influenza is everywhere.
The CDC confirms that 20 children across the country have died from the flu this winter, 7 just last week.
One of the most difficult things that I've ever had to do was tell my other children on Saturday morning that their little brother wasn't coming home.
In California, health officials say 42 people younger than 65 have died from flu-related complications. That's compared to 9 at this time last year. And this year's strain appears to be a quick killer. Just 48 hours after Katie Oxley-Thomas first started showing signs of the flu, this 40-year-old mother of 3 from California was dead.
This was like nothing I've ever seen, how quickly this deteriorated her and attacked her.
Hospitals are overwhelmed. Some are setting up ER tents in parking lots to triage the flood of patients.
This seems to be the worst flu season we've had here in at least 10 to 15 years.
And it is not over yet. Health department officials believe that while this season is peaking, it could go on for several more months. And they remind us that it is still not too late to go get that flu shot. Maggie Rulli, ABC News, New York.
Wow. Well, while this icy, wintry weather is creating headaches, many are making the best of it. See how this officer turned into an ice skater next on Midday. One officer in Shreveport, Louisiana had a little fun on the ice. Look at him showing off his ice skating skills to help a couple of stranded drivers. Corporal Sotak is a former hockey player, so sliding across the ice, no problem for him. But he did use this moment to remind everyone to be cautious on the roads. This golden girl gets another candle on her cake. Hard to believe, but Betty White is 96 today. The 6-time Emmy winner told Parade magazine that the secret to a long life is to accentuate the positive, not the negative. As for her diet, get this, White says her favorite items include vodka and hot dogs. White's career has lasted more than 7 decades with appearances in film and television. Coming up, one last look at today's weather, what you need to know, straight ahead.
Well, the sun will help to melt some of the ice on the road as we head throughout today, but remember, if there's any moisture left on the road, which we're expecting it, we will have more ice tomorrow morning. You see those lows, 18 degrees. Don't worry though, warmer by the weekend.